Hello, y'all on YouTube. This is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I have an interesting Rob's Rambling for you. Talking a little bit about knives, and sometimes when we as guys, did you hide a knife from your wife? I know that rhymes like Henry David Thoreau. I'm a poet and I didn't know it, right? Did you hide a knife from your wife? I'm sure everyone here would say never, and that's great. If you've never have, that's awesome because your wife doesn't care and she's perfectly fine with it. But sometimes we may have made purchases that we bought and maybe we shouldn't have, or we bought it and we were like, what do I need to sell to be able to cover the cost of this thing? Yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's ever done that. Just like I'm sure some of our wives have done the same thing, right? You buy something and you're like, oh, I really want that. And you kind of go, ooh, I should have probably planned a little bit better on that one. Or, that one's a little more expensive than what my wife might be comfortable with if I told her, right? So sometimes we have hobbies that it could be golf clubs. I know a lot of guys when I used to play golf, man, they wouldn't tell their wives the clubs and things that they had, where they played and stuff. It was just kind of out of this world, right? Well, some of the knives can be a little similar to that. And some of these might be a good example of that. Here we have the EMP EDC, the Relative. Really, really wonderful knife. One of my favorite knives. Just works really well. Very satisfying. Fuller hole reverse deployment. Can really satisfy, very satisfyingly deploy it left-handed as well. But this was not a cheap knife. It is definitely a higher end knife. And I had to sell some things to get a hold of that one. Maybe finance it a little bit. But it's one of those knives that you bring out and it kind of stands out from all the other knives. And maybe your wife goes, well, I don't think I've seen that one before. Is that new? And you're like, oh, no, you've seen this before. And you're like trying to play it off. Yeah, maybe we try to hide some of those knives sometimes if it's that big of a purchase or that different of a knife. So I don't know if any of you guys have done that. I think it's kind of funny. Hopefully after the years you have a better handle on it and kind of laugh about it and think it's kind of hilarious as you reflect back on it. But sometimes we can buy some things and maybe kind of have all this logic worked out in our mind and it just didn't execute perfectly. And so then when you get it in, you try to sneak it in and not show that, hey, I have another knife, right? I would love someday for this channel to grow to the point where I could just buy any knife that I would like to buy, that I could afford to buy for the channel's sake and to be able to review and even if I had to sell it again, but just to have that ability to kind of cycle that many knives in and out. I don't have that. So that's why my content, I release one video a day, and some of my video is not always an unboxing, a review. Sometimes it's just some rambling because kind of talk about my hobby, talk about the things I love and the things that I do and some of the funny things that come up. And I will tell you, this little thought did come up in talking to my wife. We were in our bedroom and we were talking about this, and she was talking about the knife that you hide, you kind of sneak it by, and I was like, and I thought it was kind of hilarious. We laughed about it, and I thought, what, that should be a good topic. Are there knives that we buy that we kind of hide from our spouse? And I wonder, there are, and I think sometimes that does happen. How do you handle that? Is there a better way to deal with that? Now, I'm assuming that you want to have a good relationship with your wife. I'm assuming that you want to have an honest relationship with your wife, and I'm assuming that you enjoy that relationship with your wife. So I think that assumption comes in that it wasn't something that you would intentionally and maliciously go out of your way to do. At least that's not the case for me. So I'm being honest here. I love knives, and sometimes I'll see a deal that just you can't let it pass by. But I'm not really quite ready there to buy, so I kind of stretch it a little bit, and I realize I got to sell some things to cover this, and I'm not quite there yet to have covered it. So you want to hide it and kind of bring it in and kind of sneak it in like it's part of the collection. It's always been there. And I have said that, this has been in my knife collection forever. Well, it hasn't. I mean, there are some knives that have been in my knife collection forever. Like, here's a Enrique Pena Muella. Oops, got a little dust on there. And this has the Damasteel knife blade, which is beautiful. And this is a very high-end knife. I really like this knife a lot. I've had this a long time in my collection. It was the only and the first Damasteel blade that I've ever bought. I love Damasteel, and I would definitely love to get some more. But again, you know, this was a reasonable price and something that I enjoyed carrying, and I like the design of this Damasteel. But most of the other Damasteel knives that I see are not reasonable in price. They're very, very expensive to the point that I'm not sure I really want to have them in my collection, but that one is. So that one's been in my collection for a while, and I can honestly say, yeah, that's been there. I've had it for quite a while. It was one that I bought a long time ago when I wasn't buying many knives, but I've enjoyed it. But like, for instance, this Wii Knives Trogon, a Brian Brown design. I've wanted this so badly. I was checking for it, looking for it. Wasn't available. It was hard to find. I was hunting for it. Missed all the sales. Missed buying it. And I wasn't sure if I was going to buy it. And the one time I had a chance to buy it, I thought, maybe not, because I had bought the Wii Knives Makini, Makani or Makini. Really, really like that knife and enjoy that knife a lot. Beautiful, beautiful. That was a limited edition. I thought this was limited edition. I don't believe this is, but I still love this knife. And it was hard to find. I finally got a hold of it, and it was available one day, and I felt like I just had to do it because there was one there. And I was somehow able to get this into my collection. Now, ironically enough, this sure looks like a River's Edge Cutlery exclusive, right? Because it's bronze anodized titanium scales with the black PVD coating and the bronze scaling hardware. It's not. This is just one of their designs here. But I love this knife. And I snuck this one in and got busted on it, right? So I got busted on it, and here's another one that snuck in. Didn't quite get busted on this one because it looked similar to another knife, but I should have been busted. And I think she kind of thought maybe she noticed this was one of those knives that snuck in that I hadn't quite yet sold enough knives to replace. This is the Enrique Pena Javi Garcia collab. This is the Alacron. You wouldn't see this in the stores just yet. They had a drop of this at Javi Garcia's website, and I was in on it, and I was able to buy this one when it dropped directly from them. And I think eventually in a month or a few months from now, they're going to drop more production versions of these, but they had some really nice explicit versions that they dropped if you were in on the early release on this. But it's such a fun knife. This is absolutely my favorite in Pena X series types of knife. It's a little larger. You'll notice this looks a little bit like a Tonto blade. It's kind of like a Tonto drop point, spear point. I don't know, almost a little spear point, maybe drop point, But then it's got this look here where it kind of comes here and comes up. There's no tip there, so it's not really Tonto, but it's got kind of the shape of one of these, it's like one of these modified kind of, it just, to me, I love the way this is just so modified. It's just so unique. It's like so many others, but like nothing others, right? At least for me. I find that shape so unique, but yet so common. That's what makes this so, to me, kind of special, right? But not only that, this is the most comfortable, ergonomically best gripping knife that I have. These have the best thumb stud deployments of any knife that I have. I mean, the way Javi Garcia lined the scale to deploy, this just works. This works both front and reverse. It's just simply beautiful. And then the front clipper is phenomenal. I mean, I can single finger flick it. I can roll it, slow roll it. This rolls up nice and slowly as well. All this stuff works really, really well. It's just a great knife. But I'm going on my tangent because I love knives, right? But the whole point is I snuck this one in. I got busted on it. So, or I probably got busted on it, but probably didn't. So again, it's another one I snuck in, and I realize I'm going to be getting knives in, and they're going to move in and out, and so she knows that. But I've got to be, a little more thoughtful and be honest about it. But I always worried that I'm going to finally find that one knife in the price range that I said I would never buy a knife in, and then I buy it, and I'm like, I can't believe I bought this knife, but I did. So, there's going to be that day, and I'm going to probably sneak that in and see if I got busted by my wife, Am I going to hide that one from her? I'm going to be honest, So there you go. I'm just curious, have any of you guys done that? Have you hidden a knife? Maybe when you first started collecting, you got into the knives and you're like, oh, this is really cool. I really want this knife. And you didn't really quite tell her. Maybe you don't have a great relationship with your wife and you really don't care. So this video is not for you. There you go. This probably is not pertinent or relevant to you. I just thought it was kind of funny because, as a person who collects knives and loves knives, you know, I limit myself to a case of 36 knives that are in my collection at a time. And if something wants to be more of a permanent part of my collection, it's got to be one of those 36. And if it's going to bump something else out, then something else gets bumped out. Now, there are a couple of knives in there that'll never bump out. One is well, two of them are the anniversary gifts from my wife. I have a pair of two, and a pair of two military Spyderco. I did put some Arctic fat carbon fiber scales on that one, and a Pacific Suns or Lynch clip, I can't remember. Really nice. And then the other one is going to be my ProTech TR3 automatic. That's really nice. Those are always going to be in my collection, and she knows those are going to be there, and she bought them for me for my anniversary, so our anniversary. So those are knives that will be there. But any of the other 34 slots, you know, they can be bumped and moved around, and as long as I sell those and then have the funds for them, I'm fine. But I'm curious, do you have knives like that sometimes you have to move around things if you're limited on funds? I mean, if you're one of these guys who's got all the money in the world, your kids all grown up, you're retired, you've got great savings, and you don't care, awesome. I would love to be you, and hey, if that's you and you have extra knives you'd love for me to borrow maybe for a review, I would love that. That would be super awesome. If you would consider a young YouTuber like myself, maybe I'll be allowed to borrow it for my reviews. That would be really cool. But if not, no worries. But I'm not that person. I have to be very discreet, very thoughtful in what I get. I don't have a lot of relationships with manufacturers right now. I mean, you know, I am on one affiliate program where I might be getting some knives from one particular manufacturer, and I am on what we call an Apex pass around with some other knife reviewers. So I'm on the bottom of the list because I'm the new guy. So, you know, bottom of the totem pole, and it's just the way it is. So at some point I will get some of those knives when they do the pass around, but I am definitely at the bottom of the list as the new guy. And that's absolutely to be expected as a new person. I totally understand that. So I have a ways to go before those come in. So I'm trying to have some knives for my reviews now. And a few times I've been busted on it. I gotta be honest, I've been busted on it. So, you know, there you go. I don't know if you guys had the same. I just thought it would be a fun little topic for everybody. I didn't know if you felt you'd been in the same shoes, or you've ever been in the same shoes. How did you deal with it? Did you look back on it with a laugh and kind of figure out there's a better way to deal with this? I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Please feel free. You know, maybe your thoughts on that. I really would appreciate that. This would be a great conversation to have. But I also thought, you know, I would be a little honest about this and how my knife journey has grown and why I'm, you know, more methodical in what I buy. I don't just buy anything that I go, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. I really have to look at it and go, is that something that I'm willing to maybe be part of my collection? And am I willing to move things in my collection for that to be a part of my collection? Am I willing to do that, you know? So I don't have to hide that knife. I don't have to say, you know, no, that's not a hidden knife from my collection. No, it's not really, you know. It truly is there in my collection, or, you know, it's not a knife that I hid from her. So anyways, that's my story and that's my experience. I would love to hear yours and see where you stand on that. Again, I just thought it'd be a fun Rob's Rambling and kind of a little discussion. Hey, if you find this content fun, interesting, or worthwhile, would you please consider liking this video? And if you have already liked this video, would you consider subscribing to my channel for more content? And if you've already subscribed for more content, would you mind consider hitting and clicking on the notification button? That way you can have a notification of future content. The like and the subscription really, really help me out a lot. It helps me able to produce more content, helps my channel out significantly, so I would really appreciate that. And if you haven't already checked me out, maybe check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. I sure would appreciate that. Thank you so much, and have a great day and a great week. Bye.